A lot of boxing this weekend. A lot of boxing this weekend. Bryan Fonseca here, Action Network. Let's talk about it. We have a lot of fights. And the most attention-grabbing one this weekend will be Gervonta Tank Davis defending his WBA Lightweight Championship for the first time in about a year and a half against Frank Martin. It's going to be very interesting to see him get this step-up opportunity against Gervonta Tank Davis, who we have not seen in a ring since he stopped Ryan Garcia last April. So this is over a year ago. And this is Gervonta Davis's return to the ring. Now, Gervonta Davis is the better fighter here. People know that. I think even casual fight fans are wondering who this Frank Martin is. We'll get to that in a second. But Gervonta Tank Davis, once again, height and reach disadvantage. 5'5", 67-inch reach. Doesn't have an advantage in either department, and it's probably not going to matter because he is so good. And people watch Gervonta Davis for his power. Like casual fight fans want to see him knock out other guys and things of that nature. What he's really good at is defensively. He's actually really smart. He's patient. He gives up some early rounds occasionally. He did that against Hector Luis Garcia. He's done that in a number of other instances. But ultimately, he understands what true pressure fighting is. And it's not just necessarily standing in front of your opponent for the entirety of a fight, but he'll lay out traps. He'll set up his left uppercut, which Frank Martin's going to need to watch out for in this fight. And he'll set up all these different counters for what other opponents are going to bring to the table. The interesting thing here is that Frank Martin is not somebody who distributes a high volume. He's not somebody like Isaac Cruz who's trying to mix it up on the inside, nor should he, quite frankly, in this particular fight. But Frank Martin is a little more economical with his punches, and he's going to be patient. So we might see some feel-out rounds to start this, unless somebody gets tagged, of course, in the earlier rounds, which is why I think that Gervonta Davis is going to win this fight in the later rounds. And my favorite bet for this fight is Gervonta Davis. Really, I wanted the knockout or technical knockout straight up, which you can still get at -175. If you're doing a parlay, I suggest going with that leg. And if you want to pay up some straight up money, you can do that there as well. But individually, I do like the knockout or technical knockout between rounds 7 through 12. I think Frank Martin, who's never been stopped before in his career, obviously he's undefeated. He's not somebody who, despite coming off a less than impressive performance in his last win, and some people don't even think that deserved to be a victory last year. But despite coming off that, I think he is pretty live in this fight. I don't think he's just going to go away quietly. I think he'll demonstrate some things early on and he'll hang around for a bit. And I think Gervonta Davis is going to get the late stoppage. Remember, 7 through 12, he got Ryan Garcia in the 7th round last time we saw him. He got Hector Luis Garcia in the 8th round last time when we saw him, or going into the 9th rather, because there was a retirement on the stool, so to speak. Gervonta Davis has gotten a fair share of knockouts late in fights, and Frank Martin is a high enough level fighter and stylistically is a patient enough fighter to where this can go along for several rounds up until Gervonta Davis gets a stoppage. And the reason why I think this doesn't go to the cards is because Gervonta Davis has been in the cards twice. Once was very early on in his career in the 6th rounder against a journeyman who he knocked down multiple times, and the other was against Isaac Cruz, and Gervonta Davis famously broke his hand in that fight. If he didn't, maybe he gets a knockout there too. So you have to look at the KO, TKO. And if you want the rounds, 7 through 12, that is at +135. And at one sportsbook, you can also get Frank Martin to get knocked down straight up at -210. That is, I would say, very likely and not great value. But if you pay up enough, you can get some good money back on your return. The co-feature on this fight is a very, very interesting one as well. We have David Benavidez moving up from super middleweight, where he was an interim champion, fighting for an interim title at light heavyweight against Oleksandr Gvozdyk. And Gvozdyk fought Artur Beterbiev, who is the king of the light heavyweight division, along with Dmitry Bivol. He fought Beterbiev in 2019 in a great fight, in a fight that he got stopped in the 10th round, but was winning on 2 of the scorecards at the time he got stopped. He got dropped 3 times. The referee stopped the fight. It was a great stoppage. He was gassed. He was tired. But in that fight, he boxed really well against Artur Beterbiev at times, to the point where he might have gotten a decision if he just stayed on his feet. So it was a very, very close fight. Beterbiev ended up winning. Beterbiev is undefeated. He's the standard at the light heavyweight division, again, along with Dmitry Bivol. And this is who these two guys are chasing. The problem with Gvozdyk is He took almost 4 years off after that fight. Now he's built up a little winning streak since, and he's gotten more active. But with David Benavidez, we last saw him late last year against Demetrius Andrade. And in that fight, he got a stoppage, and a lot of people weren't necessarily sure whether or not he would do it as early as he did. David Benavidez was getting Fighter of the Year consideration by some people last year because of his performance in that fight and earlier in the year against Caleb Plant. Ultimately, I think David Benavidez wins this fight. I'm much more confident in saying that, but the problem is the method of victory here. I do think he stops Gvozdyk, but I don't love the value in it for me as it relates to how we get there in terms of group round betting and things of that nature. I'd probably lean 7-12 as well. But what I like even more is the over, just the over. Over 8.5 rounds, -142 at one prominent sportsbook. I think this fight is going to go a little bit deeper. Gvozdyk will probably do some of the same things he did against Beterbiev and box really well against David Benavidez and move around the ring, work that jab, and hit David Benavidez with some volume early on. But I think eventually Benavidez is going to stop him and get him late. So you can look at that round 7-12 range, and that's going to be at plus money. But to me, the safer play is the over here at over 8.5. Remember, Artur Beterbiev got him in the 10th round, so keep that in mind when you're looking at how to bet these fights. That's all we have for this PBC on Amazon card. Make sure that on the Action Network app and on our YouTube channel, you look at the preview that we have for Subriel Matias versus Liam Paro on the same night. Not as widely known as this fight, obviously, but it's going to take place on the zone in Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican, so we're previewing that as well. And we have a couple picks on that fight. Thank you for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.